Hey, you know that decades-old game that you all love? The one you constantly clamor for Square Enix to make an HD remake of? The one you likely already own on PlayStation Network, PC, an emulator, or heck, the original PlayStation? Well, Square Enix is making it for the PS4, and oh! No, they're not. It's just a port of the PC version. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII is coming to PS4, only it's not an HD remake like people were hoping for. And people are understandably upset because they didn't get what they were expecting and are instead getting something they likely already have. People want an HD Final Fantasy VII. People want Final Fantasy VII to look the same as Final Fantasy XIII. People want a fully voice-acted game and updated battle system. Now, are you sure that's a good idea? Because I'm not. Forgive me for sounding pessimistic, but I really think that making an HD Final Fantasy VII right now is a terrible idea. Not because I think Final Fantasy VI is more deserving, which it is. Let me go into the reasons why. Number 1, Square Enix's management. Square Enix is the company that announced Final Fantasy XIII Versus all the way back in 2006, planning to release it alongside Final Fantasy XIII exclusive to PS3. During that time, we've gotten the delayed release and port of Final Fantasy XIII, 2 mediocre sequels to Final Fantasy XIII, the failed launch of an MMO, that sort of successful relaunch of the failed MMO, and a bunch of failed spin-offs. All we got was just a few trailers about Versus, delaying it constantly until they decided in 2013 to change its name to Final Fantasy XV, and they're still not close to being done with it. Do you really trust that kind of management with one of your treasured childhood memories? I certainly wouldn't. Square Enix can make a game that sells millions of copies, but can still be considered a failure because they have that poor of staff and resource management. They've repeatedly shown they care more about announcing games, generating hype, and capitalizing off your nostalgia rather than making a good game. When was the last time you played a game that was made by Square Enix that you could truly hold close to your heart like you did with early Final Fantasy games? Yeah, I thought so. Do you really think that Square Enix cares about you? Do you really think Square Enix cares about your nostalgia and wanting to make you feel happy? No! This is the company that released a crappy Final Fantasy VII iOS racing game. This is the company that said Final Fantasy All the Bravest was a good idea. Of course they don't. They half-ass everything nowadays. All Square Enix has shown people is that they want your money, pure and simple, and you guys want these people to remake one of the greatest parts of your childhood? If you say so. Number 2, Cloud's development over the years. You guys remember that image of Cloud then and Cloud now? There's more we can delve into regarding it. Cloud in the original Final Fantasy was a good character. He wisecracked, took charge, and was admittedly kind of an ass. People who played Final Fantasy grew up with this image of Cloud. The Cloud who rides a chocobo through a plane. The Cloud who cross-dressed. The Cloud who, despite seeing some really horrible shit in military life and losing much of what he cared about, still managed to be a snarky jerk. Not some monotone emo who for some reason always finds the ground really captivating. If they do happen to remake it, people are going to want voice acting. And what's going to happen then? Cloud's going to be voiced by Steve Burton, who sounds like a stoned Quentin Flynn trying to be Edward Cullen. When Cloud first had a voice in Kingdom Hearts, he's been considerably more melancholy and has been on a downward spiral ever since. If they remake Final Fantasy VII, it's likely going to stick to the Advent Children characterizations and no more zipper and belt designs. Just no.
It's all just a game, so let loose and have fun with it!
Number 3, the nature of remakes. Making an HD remake of Final Fantasy VII sounds like a get-rich-quick scheme on paper, but let's really think about this. Remakes from the ground up are a fickle beast. Since Final Fantasy VII didn't originally have voice acting or clear facial expressions, adding them has a high chance of changing your interpretation of it. How a voice actor says a line can really change what actually comes across. It's likely not going to go the same way you pictured it in your head because some people, including the people actually making the game, interpret things different ways. I'm just saying, if the remake happens, then you should be prepared for things not to go exactly how you thought it would. Assuming, and that's a hard assuming, that everything was updated faithfully, the gameplay wasn't tweaked in the wrong direction, the graphics were updated well, the voice acting worked. Is this really going to be a financially worthwhile endeavor for Square Enix? Many people underestimate the amount of work that would go into a remake of Final Fantasy VII. This isn't like an HD upscaling like what they did with Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy X. This is rebuilding it from the ground up. Most of the sound effects are dated, most of the dialogue is dated, the graphics are really dated, so mostly everything's going to have to be remade from scratch. That's going to take a long time with man hours and money that they're likely not going to make bank back on. Bottom line, I just don't think it's feasible at present for a Final Fantasy VII Remake to exist. Too many things have to go perfectly in order for it to happen. Final Fantasy VII has a lot of iconic moments and great characters, and I don't trust the Square Enix of today to preserve that. If you trust them, you have a lot more faith in Square Enix than I do.